애틀랜타한국학교 이사장 정유근입니다. 오늘 바쁘신 토요일 오후인데 시간을 내서 이렇게 참석해 주셔서 감사합니다. 저희들이 청소년 순독 프로그램이라고 지지난 이사회 때부터 이제 의논을 해서 이제 준비해가 해왔던 건데 오늘 이제 첫 세미나입니다. 그래서 이제 홍보를 한다고 했는데 많이 안 된 것 같아요. 그래서 그렇지만 앞으로 계속 정기적으로 저희들이 이제 세미나를 할 예정이니까 그때마다 또 홍보도 더 열심히 해가지고 더 많은 분들이 좀 참석하셔서 좀 좋은 그런 지식을 얻게끔 저희들이 노력하겠습니다. 제가 지금 오늘 오신 강사님을 제가 소개해드리겠습니다. 라드니 해리스라고 구인네 카운티 거기서 법정 판사로 있습니다. 판사로 있고, 그러니까 2011년부터 판사직을 역임하고 있고, 조지아 스테이트 유니버시티에서 졸업을 해서 그리고 이제 주비날 콜, 그러니까 청소년 콜트에서 15년간 변론을 했었습니다. 그리고 지금 이분은 구인네 카운티 커뮤니티에서 굉장히 청소년들을 위해서 굉장히 봉사를 많이 하시는 분이에요. 다니면서 자기 개인 전화번호를 다 줄 만큼 주고 전화하면 전화도 받고 전화가 안 되면 텍스트 메시지 보내면 바로 연락이 오고 그럽니다. 그래서 이제 어떤 어려운 법적인 어려움이 당했을 때 정말 어떻게 해야 할지 막막할 때 진짜 전화를 하면 그때 도움을 탁 주고 아주 저희들도 지금 한 4, 5년간 알고 있는데 아주 저희들한테도 많은 도움을 주고 그랬었습니다. 한인 학생들 구인네 카운티에서 거주하고 있는 한인 학생들한테도 도움을 많이 줬었어요. 그 전에. 그리고 지금은 센트럴 구인네 하이스쿨에서 자문위원으로 계시고 또 그 전에는 United Way 구인네 and United Ebony Society에서 또 보드 멤버로 계셨고 받은 상으로는 마르틴 루터 킹 주니어 커뮤니티 서비스 어워드 받으셨고 또 칩 저스티스 로버트 베햄 커뮤니티 서비스 어워드도 수상하셨습니다. 오늘 이분이 이제 저희들 위해서 강의하실 거는 첫째는 자녀에게 문제가 있음을 어떻게 우리가 어른으로서 어떻게 감지를 할 수 있는지, 그 다음에 그런 자녀들과 문제가 있는 자녀들과 어떻게 대화하며 어떻게 대처를 할 수 있는지, 또 그런 자녀들을 또 어떻게 이제 선도를 해가지고 그런 문제에서 벗어나게 할 수 있는지, 그 세 가지를 가지고 오늘은 말씀을 듣도록 하겠습니다. Mr. Judge Rodney Hayes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was born and raised in Duluth, and probably a long time before you guys ever moved here. All this used to be like farmland. So there's no buildings, no roads, just cows, basically. So if you can't understand something I say, it's just that southern accent, ask me to repeat it. First of all, I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to come and speak to you about drugs and kids, that kind of thing. I usually do it, 30, 40 times. No, more than that. Probably about 100 times a year. I'm at different places, at schools, churches, or sometimes businesses, just talking to parents about kids and drugs. I know they told me a little bit about, he just told you a little bit about me. Don't believe any of that stuff. But I run myself ragged speaking, because if I can keep at least one kid out of jail or keep one kid from dying, then I've done my job as a person that cares about everybody else. I really don't have a set agenda or a canned speech. The way I do things is if we're talking about something and you have a question, stop me, ask it then. That way you won't forget it, and then we'll deal with it as we go. So you interrupt me at any time. The thing I am going to tell you that I'm real proud of is me and about 25, 30 other people, some more judges, some police officers, lawyers, therapists, and some prosecutors. We started a program called STRAP, and it's called Seeking the Right Amendable Path. It's a charitable organization. We started about 4 years ago in Duluth, and we operate out of my old law building. But what we do is take kids that are in trouble with the courts. We run them through a 6-month program. We meet every Saturday, and once we get through the program, their trouble goes away. So we've got some of the other judges to give us these kids, and that way, instead of ending up in jail, they actually end up with some life skills. They learn how to do interviews. They learn how to dress without their pants falling down. We take them to college campuses. We take them to the police department, fire department, actually go to the jail, let them see how that is. So we try to give them a well-rounded thing to do in the 6 months and learn how to live like everybody else as opposed to getting locked up again and again and again. So that's one of the things I'm really proud of. I think that we talk about 3 things. First one being how parents can kind of recognize if your kid's on drugs or kind of dallying around with them. Second thing, if that's the case, how to deal with your teen that's on drugs. And then the last thing being how to get help for that teen that's on drugs or the young person that's on drugs. First off, you got to kind of understand what drugs are and how Georgia deals with them. Georgia's like the past, let me see, maybe 2 years ago, 4, I think, the governor passed a lot of new laws so that instead of going to jail like on the first offense or second offense, you can go into treatment. And they want you to get treatment options. They don't have like, you probably heard of 3 strikes and you're out. The 3 strikes, if you get caught with drugs 3 times, you spend a life in prison. Well, that is hard. It's still on the books, but it's hard to get that down because Georgia's went to a treatment option mode. So if you go to court, let's say for cocaine possession, and you really have a problem, not selling it, but just you have a problem using it, they have what they call a drug court now. And if you go into the drug court, you complete that program. Instead of going to jail, you get a certificate, your license not suspended, and in most of them, you don't have that conviction on your record. So it's like everything gets washed away if you can complete the program. And I think drug court lasts anywhere, depending on where you are, from 12 months to 24 months. There's also a DUI court for people who drink alcohol and drive and get caught drunk. Then there's a treatment program that they can go through there. Now they are beginning to come up with a mental health court because I would say about 60 to 70% of the people that are in jail have mental disabilities. They mean paranoid schizophrenic, bipolar, just all sorts of stuff. So, and for years we've always locked people up because they can't conform. Well, now we're beginning to understand that some people just are chemically imbalanced in the brain and they can't function unless they're on some type of medication that actually helps them. So the criminal justice system is beginning to recognize that we can't just lock everybody up. Some people need treatment. So whether it's drug court, DUI court, or mental health court, then they can try to get some help there. Understand, we have all 3 of those courts for adults, and then we have it for kids as well. Gwinnett has, in the juvenile court, a drug court program. If let's say your son got caught with drugs at school, misdemeanor amount of marijuana, it's not a felony, so he's not going to go to jail really. But if he goes through this juvenile court drug program, then like I said, the charges get dismissed if he graduates and he gets a diploma and he can actually say, I've never been convicted of a crime. So that's how that helps. But Georgia lists the drugs in classifications. You got 5 classifications. Schedule 1 being the hardest to deal with, and you go through all the way to Schedule 5. Some of the drugs in Schedule 1 are heroin, LSD, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard the kids holler Molly. talk about mollies, or they're just like some ecstasy, that kind of thing. And also there's some hallucinogenic mushrooms that sometimes we find the kids doing. And I don't know how they found it. Trust me, I've been in the country all my life. I can tell you one mushroom for the other, but these kids are a lot smarter than we are, so they figure things out a lot faster. So Schedule 2 drugs are like opium, morphine, some of the prescription stuff, oxycodone, cocaine, and we do with crack cocaine as well, and methamphetamines. You've heard of people being on meth, and I don't know if you've seen any of them, but when you're on meth, it attacks your body from the inside, basically. It kills everything on the inside, and if you see people that are meth addicts have been on it for probably a year or two, all their teeth are falling out or rotten because it rots your teeth from the inside. So that's Schedule 2 drugs. Schedule 3 are more like steroids and testosterone that you see the athletes on, football players. They'll be all big and buffy, and they take that. So, but that is an illegal drug in Georgia. If you get caught with it, then you're subject to going to jail. Question?
No.
See if anybody understands.
Oh, go ahead. Just tell them if they got questions, or anybody need to ask the question, or is everybody okay?
괜찮으세요?
Okay. All right. Well, if I talk fast, slow me down.
중요한 얘기는 좀 해주세요.
Translate.
Okay.
지금 그 말씀 좀 해주시죠. 키 포인트.
네.
Okay.
You can
여기
Okay. But the cameraman, you need up or down? Okay. All right. That works better for me. All right. Now,
지금 좀 하시겠어요. 최소로
네,
트랜슬레이션.
okay. Just slow down. Okay. Gotcha.
coincide네.
Okay. All right. Now, drug possession in Georgia is different than a lot of states. You don't actually have to have the drugs on your person, meaning it doesn't have to be in your pockets or anything. If the police came in here right now and they found cocaine, let's say I took it out of my pocket and threw it on the floor, but the police doesn't know that. And if I don't claim it, they're going to arrest everybody in here for the cocaine. So that's why it's important to kind of go.
Yeah, I'll explain. It's a lot.
No, that's fine.
I'm gonna make it really short.
Okay.
그러니까 이 아이들과 어른과 청소년의 그 마약 문제를 다르게 다루지 않고 똑같이 다루는데요. 그 중에서 이제 그 여러 가지 프로그램이 따로따로 있어요. 그래서 그 정신 건강에 관한 코트, 그다음에 그 DUI에 관한 코트, 그다음에 drug 코트 이렇게 그러니까 마약 코트 이게 세 가지로 나누어지는데 아이들은 drug 코트에 가도 그런 다른 프로그램, 그러니까 걔네들을 선도할 수 있는 프로그램을 애들이 그거를 그 프로그램을 다 끝내고 하면 그 걔네들이 그 뭐 죄를 지었다는 아무 기록이나 이런 걸 없이 다시 그냥 아무 일도 없었던 것처럼 하고, 그다음에 이 판사님께서 자기 친구들과 몇 명 같이 그 스트랩이라는 그런 기관을 만드셨는데 그 기관에서 이제 그렇게 아이들이 마약이나 이런 거로 문제가 된 아이들을 모으셔가지고 직접 감옥도 데려가 보고 얘네들이 죄를 지으면 이렇게 된다. 감옥도 데려가 보고 그 다음에 또 학교, 대학교 캠퍼스도 데려가 보고 이렇게 해서 그 아이들을 다 선도를 해서 감옥에 가지 않고 다시 감옥에 가지 않고도 이제 그 마약에서 손을 뗄 수 있게 이렇게 도와주는 그런 프로그램을 지금 다른 여러 변호사님과 경찰들 이렇게 합해가지고 그 프로그램을 지금 하시고 계신데요. 그 조지아에는 그 삼진아웃 제도가 있었는데 지금은 그 삼진아웃을 잘 하지 않는답니다. 그러니까 3번 하면은 이제 진짜 오래 가는. 진짜 감옥에서 아주 뭐 평생을 썩는 그런 게 삼진아웃이었는데 그 주지사께서 그거를 이제 약간 폐지하시고 그다음에 2번, 3번 하는 애들을 삼진아웃 시키지 않고 걔네들을 트리트먼트를 해서 그런 게 좋은 선도 프로그램을 해가지고 아이들이 다시 그걸 손을 대지 않게 만드는 게 훨씬 더 효과적이기 때문에 그냥 감옥으로 보내지 않고, 그래서 그 조지아에는 이렇게 5조항으로 그 중요한 그 마약의 종류가 5가지가 있는데, 그 중에서 이제 잘 알고 있는 헤로인, 그러니까 우리가 잘 알고 있는 필로폰, 그 헤로인, 그 다음에 뭐 LSD, 엑스타시 이런 거 아이들이 학교에서도 잘 이렇게 팔고 살 수 있는 그런 약들이 있고, 그 중에 하나 또 잘 알고 계셔야 되는 게 스테로이드. 또 많이 남용하면 그것도 죄의 항목이 될 수 있답니다. 그래서 지금 마약 소지는 다른 주하고 조지아가 다른 게 내가 주머니에 꼭 갖고 있다 그래서 꼭 나만 체포되는 게 아니라 다 같이 체포돼. 만약에 내가 갖고 있다 그걸 땅에다 버리면 그게 내 거라고 말하지 않는 이상에는 여기 있는 모든 분들이 다 감옥에 가게 됩니다. 다 체포가 되는 그런 게 조지아 법이 다른 주하고 좀 다르거든요. 네.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? No? Okay. Before I leave, this is like the biggest problem that we have with kids now. It's taking prescription medications. So if you guys have like pain pills in the medicine cabinet, or if, let's say, your kid has ADHD, everybody know what that is? Okay. But they give the pill to somebody else that doesn't have ADHD. So these kids now we're finding will take any pill that anybody gets them. Used to be the worst thing you had to worry about kids doing was smoking cigarettes. Now it's marijuana. Everybody thinks marijuana is fine because it's grown. And I'm like, okay, you better move to Colorado because Georgia will still lock you up. But marijuana is one of the biggest, and also, like I said, pills. These kids will take any pill that somebody gets them. So, you know, that's kind of where you have to be careful and watch your kids. Because, let's see here. Some of the ways you can figure out if your kid's using drugs or not. The first thing that starts to happen is they stop hanging out with you and the rest of the family. They will stay in their rooms, go to a different place in the house. They'll get a new set of friends that is totally opposite of what they used to look like. Let's say your kid, you know, dressed nice every day, had a jacket or a tie, and then all of a sudden they walk around in all black, fingernails painted black. Like I said, the grades go down, things like that. So that's what you have to look for. If you think your kid's on drugs, also you can go to Walgreens, CVS, drugstores like that, and get drug screens. And you can actually test your kid at home if you think your kid's using drugs or not. All we have to do is take a little bit of urine, it's no blood test, and you put it in a little vial, and it'll come up positive and negative as to cocaine, marijuana, I'm trying to think what else, methamphetamine, and a couple of others. But I think the tests are $10-15, so they're not that expensive. Mm-hmm. So if you think that, then, you know, just tell them, you know, if you're not doing it, then pee in the cup and we'll be fine. But if he is, or she is.
So it tells you which drug
it tells you which,
using?
Exactly, it tells you which ones. And, you know, before I leave, I'll give everybody my phone number. So if you have questions ever, and it may not be your kid, it may be your neighbor's kid, and I don't know so much about Mr. Chung, but I work with his wife forever. She has every one of my numbers. I have two cell phones, and I got rid of my pager, but you know, I helped her out so many times, and she just has questions because somebody had gotten into trouble, and she called me like, well, Rodney, so-and-so got arrested last night. What do we need to do? And like I was telling them earlier, if you call a lawyer, they're going to charge you $2-3 grand. If you call me, if I can't help you, I will send you to somebody that can. So that way you can figure out what's wrong without having to spend a whole bunch of money at first. Because sometimes you don't need to spend money. And some lawyers will tell you, no, bring me $5,000 and I'll make it go away, when it's not really a problem at all. So, you know, I just learned not to cheat people. So that'll help, and we'll do that first. But that's how you can kind of recognize, like I said, if your kid's on drugs, if they're asleep all the time, or constantly eating up everything, you know, and you can smell weed. I don't know if have you guys ever smelled marijuana or no? No, probably not. Okay, well, marijuana has a distinct smell, whether it's smoked or just in an open packet. And I'm trying to think, maybe we can do this sometime later, but I have a guy that can come in and bring some drugs, and so that you can kind of see what they look like.
You
And
can taste them too?
now I don't know about that. You may get in trouble with that one. But at least you can look and see, like, this is what marijuana looks like. This is what these pills look like that everybody's taking. Because, a few years back, they used all these drugs they call the date rape drug. And that's where a guy would give a girl this medication or this drug, and then next thing you know, she's passed out, but she's raped the next day. So, you need to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't stop me.
그래서 아까부터 아이들이 요즘에는 제일 남용하는 게 진통제를 남용한답니다. 그래서 자기가 먹는 진통제, 그러니까 그 ADHD 약을 남용하니까 자기가 먹지 않은 약을 다른 친구들한테 판다든가, 또 할머니나 어머니, 엄마 이렇게 아픈 분들이 쓰는 그런 강한 진통제들을 먹고 그걸로 마약으로 이용하는데, 아이들이 이제 마약을 손을 대는 그런 몇 가지 이제 감지할 수 있는 게 있는데, 가족들과 잘 친하다가 혼자 있고 싶어 하고, 그다음에 다른 자기가 사귀던 친구들과 안 놀고 다른 부류의 친구들을 만난다든가, 이렇게 뭐 굉장히 어두운 옷을 입는다든가, 손을 까맣게 뭐 이렇게 매니큐어를 까만색을 칠한다든가 그런 일이 많이 있고, 그다음에 많이 먹고 많이 자고, 그다음에 그런데 그 데이 레이프 드럭이라는 게 있는데, 그거는 이제 남자애들이 여자애들한테 먹여서 잠을 자게 한 다음에 그 여자애들을 강간을 하는 그런 약인데요. 그게 굉장히 유행하고 있다고 합니다. 데이 레이프 드럭. 그러니까 낮에 밤에 이렇게 뭐 끌고 가서 이렇게 하는 게 아니라, 그 약을 먹이면은 애가 그냥 잠이 드는 거죠, 여자가. 그러면은 애가 잠든 사이에 걔를 강간을 하는 거예요. 그러면 얘는 자기가 당했는지 안 당했는지 모르고 그냥 깨어나면 아무 일이 없었던 것처럼 하니까, 그거를 남자들이 많이 악용을 한답니다. 남자 애들도 그렇고 어른도 그렇고.
Okay. And the date rape drug is what Bill Cosby's in trouble for. And I don't know if you guys have heard that on the news or not. That's what they said. All these women are saying that Bill Cosby put something in their drink. That's the date rape drug. So that's what it is. Okay. See here, where we gonna go? How to deal with your kids on drugs. The first thing you do is, if you think your kid's on drugs, confront them. Go in their room, search it, go through their book bag, go through anything that they have. And if they get defensive, then there's going to be a problem, because they're probably trying to hide something in your house. And as I said before, if drugs are in your house or in this room and nobody claims it, everybody goes to jail. So conceivably, if your kid doesn't claim the drugs that are in your house, then the police are going to take everybody in the house to jail. So that's why it's really important that you know your kid doesn't have drugs, if they're using them or if they're selling them. Sometimes kids don't use drugs, they sell them. Now this is a real issue here. Let's say your kid is not necessarily a big time drug dealer, but they're selling drugs at school, whether it's pills or marijuana or some of the other stuff like crack cocaine. If he has that in your house and he doesn't claim it, the state of Georgia, through forfeiture laws, can actually take your house because they think that you bought the house because he was selling drugs out of your house. So that's why it's really important that if you think drugs are in your house, you confront your kid first and then call the Gwinnett County Police. Or if you live in the city of Duluth, Swanee, call the city police, because they will come out and search your house free if you think drugs are in there. And if you tell them and if they find them, then they'll take them away. And usually your kid won't get in trouble, but at least you know there are no drugs in your house if you think drugs are in the house. So that's one of the good things you can do.
Question. So if police, for some reason, police came to my house and then he found drug marijuana in my son's room, and then if my son's doesn't claim that it is his, then he can take
Everybody in there jail.
everybody in. Okay, and
Yeah.
also even the house.
Yeah.
And they can fall.
Yeah.
Okay, but if we confront and then call them, ask them help. Then they will come and they will search the house.
Yep.
And if they found marijuana, and they take away marijuana, but there's no trouble in
Exactly.
my sons.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
depends on where they find the weed. Now, your son may get in trouble because it's tricky. Let's say your son's there and he's been real rude, nasty. He's cussing you, he won't listen, and sometimes the police are like, okay, now I'm gonna take him to jail and I'm gonna destroy the marijuana. But you won't go to jail, nobody in your family won't go to jail. So, yeah, a little different there.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am?
Okay, if I purchased a 10-year-old house and when I moved in, I heard the neighbor say that a lot of kids going around and have party and something going on. Can I ask police department to search the house before they move in or?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, it may take them a while to get out there, but most police departments will do that. They'll do a courtesy check and come in just make sure, and you can tell them like, look, all these kids are hanging out here. That's what they tell me. If you don't mind, can you bring it? And usually they'll bring the drug dog, the dogs that can sniff the drugs. Bring them in, they'll walk them through the house, and they'll look and try to make sure that there's no drugs there.
Is it true that I just purchased the house a month ago and the police find a drug in my house without, before I, ask them to do it? Is somehow, they find it, and is it I go to jail because I'm
No.
the owner of the house?
Technically, you could, but given that scenario, no, they're really not going to lock you up because you don't, number one, and you never can tell because you don't look like you do drugs, and I'm sure if you take a drug test, you pass. So no, you don't have to worry about that. But me, on the other hand, if they see me when I take off this jacket and put on some blue jeans and a T-shirt, and with my hair all on my head, they think I smoke weed. Because most of the kids think I do drugs when they first see me. They have no idea, exactly. They have no idea that I'm a judge or anything, but they see my hair and they just assume that I smoke weed. And that's one of the reasons I wear my hair like this, so that kids can understand, okay, if you're going to wear your hair like this, there's going to come to a certain scrutiny with it. People are going to assume, like he says, profile, that you think I'm using drugs because my hair is just like this. So, a little different. Okay, still dealing with these kids on the drugs. Usually, if your kid's on drugs, their grades are going to go down. And like I said, they're going to start skipping school, hanging out with different friends than before. They usually get withdrawn. They won't eat with the family. They'll just stay in their room all the time or stay away from the house all the time. So they'll either, come in at 2 in the morning and then sleep all day. So stuff like that. That's kind of how you tell. But the way you deal with it, like I said, the first thing you do is you confront. You confront your kid like, look, I know you're doing something because you're not the same kid that I've raised for the past 14, 15 years. So you deal with that. But you're going to, after you confront them, and if they are on drugs, then you're going to have to figure out how to get them the help they need to get off drugs. And that's expensive because most treatment programs, the longest you can stay in is 30 days. And sometimes that's $30,000 to $50,000. There are a few church-related, religion-related treatment facilities that will take kids in and grown-ups. And it's a little cheaper, but sometimes they only stay 7 days or 2 weeks, and it's really not enough time to get the person off the drugs. And like I said, these kids now, if somebody just says, here, drink this, they'll do it without any questions asked. Because they trust their friends, and sometimes their friends will get them in bad places. So I'll let you go.
그래서 만약에 아이가 마약에 손을 댄다는 것을 의심하고 계시면 그 아이한테 무조건 가서 네가 뭘 하고 있는지 엄마는 알고 있다. 그래서 그 아이의 방을 조사하기 시작하는 게 가장 first step이고요. 그래서 아이가 만약에 왜 내 방을 뒤지냐, 왜 가방을 뒤지냐 이런 식으로 왜 이렇게 반항을 하거나 그러면 진짜 뭐가 있는 거라고 의심하시면 된답니다. 그래서 어떤 아이는 자기가 꼭 마약을 하지 않아도 마약을 팔기만 하는 아이가 있답니다. 그래서 이제 만약에 그 이제 코케인이나 뭐 크랙 이런 또 뭐 마리화나 이런 게 집안에서 나오면 경찰을 부르셔서 집안을 수색을 하셔야지 아니면은 온 가족이 전부 다 체포될 수 있는 가능성이 있고 그러니까 어떤 경우에는 심한 경우에는 그 경찰이 완전히 집을 장악해서 다 조사를 할 수 있고 그다음에 다 어른들까지도 다 체포될 수 있는 그런 게 조지아 법이라고 하십니다. 그래서 그 만약에 아이가 이제 마약에 손을 댄다는 걸 알고 계시면 그 아이를 이제 치료 프로그램에 집어넣으셔야 되는데 그 치료 프로그램은 3만 불에서 5만 불 정도 들고 굉장히 비싸고요. 종교 단체가 하는 프로그램은 조금 싸지만 그런 것들은 뭐 일주일, 2주일 이렇게 해가지고는 치료가 되지 않는답니다. 그래서 그렇게 굉장히 비싼 프로그램들이 있고 하여튼 그 아이들이 일단 성적이 나빠지고 학교를 결석을 하고 무단 결석을 하고 방에 혼자 있고 아니면 아예 집에 들어오지 않고 밖으로 나든다든가 그런 일이 있을 경우에는 아이들을 의심을 하시는 게 좋다고 하십니다.
Okay. Question? Back.
상담할 수 있는 그런 한라인이라든지 웹사이트가 있으면 좀 알려주세요. 상담할 수 있는.
Do you have a hotline for not your personal phone number? But, is there a hotline?
Like a hotline for the drug?
Yeah.
No, well, I don't, there's certain drug hotlines that if you think your kid's on drugs, you can call and get help. I don't have those specifically. But if you think your kid has drugs in your house, then you need to call the local police department. If you live inside the city of Duluth or Swanee, you call that department. But if you live in Gwinnett County unincorporated, you call the Gwinnett County Police and they'll come out and take a look. The biggest thing you have to remember is that that house is yours. And don't let your kids close the door. Take the door off the hinges. I'm serious, because if they got drugs in there, they're going to be doing your house, and you don't ever, because what if somebody else's kid came over and they're doing whatever drugs they're doing, and that kid dies? It's your house. Then what happens? So you want to be real careful, but I'm serious. Take that door off the hinges and say, you have no privacy, because I don't trust you right now. One of the other things you may be able to do if your kid is under 17, and you can, if you think you're using drugs, you can take them to juvenile court. You can call juvenile court. Let's say they won't come home when they're supposed to. They won't clean their room. You think they're doing drugs. You can file what they call an unruly petition, which means your kid just basically won't follow the rules. And then you can take them to court. And then instead of you being the bad guy, then the judge is because the judge is going to tell them, you're going to quit doing drugs, you're going to respect your parents, you're going to clean your room, you're going to go to school, that kinds of stuff. So you can also call juvenile court over in Gwinnett, and that would do it. Real quick, do you need to explain that? Because I'm going to change and go to a whole different subject.
질문이 그러니까 부모님의 집이니까 이게 내 집이다 생각하시고 아이가 뭐 프라이버시를 침해한다 이런 식으로 할 때 아예 문을 떼버리시랍니다. 문을 떼버리시고 문을 못 잠그고 문을 아예 막혀놓고 프라이버시가 없게 아이들 만들고 그러니까 만약에 아이가 17살 미만이면 그렇게 엄마 말을 안 듣고 학교를 안 가고 엄마한테 반항을 한다든가 그러면 그 청소년 코트에 데려가셔서 그 청소년 코트가 그 아이하고 그 이제 넌 이렇게 하면 안 된다를 말할 수 있게 데려가시는 것도 좋은 방법이라고 하시니까 그러니까 내 부모가 나쁜 사람이 되는 게 아니라 그 코트 판사에 의해서 이 아이가 그 판사의 말을 들을 수 있게 해주시는 것도 하나의 방편이라고 하십니다.
Under 17,
Yeah.
they can apply to, or they need to knock the door, get the judge.
What now? I can't understand.
You know, the under 17-year-old kids, they could talk, they could let them talk to judge.
Yeah, you can come and file what they call a unruly petition. Basically, it's just a complaint that says, Judge, my kid's out of control. Can you help me with this kid? That's all it is.
You were to apply for the.
Oh, it's at the Gwinnett County Juvenile Court Building. That address is 115 Stone Mountain Street. But they have the number. Just look in the on the internet and just put Gwinnett Juvenile Court, and the number will pop up. And it's 17 because Georgia has all these stupid rules, and there's certain things happen at 16, 17, 18, and 21, which is kind of crazy. But most of the time, if your kid's not 17 yet, then you can deal with him in juvenile court. But this is what I want you guys to know. Out of all the drugs we've talked about, marijuana is about the least one that will not really get you in trouble. Because if you have less than 1 ounce of marijuana on your person, or if they find it, that's just a misdemeanor. Worst thing happen is a year in jail and a $1,000 fine. And I can tell you if it's first time, second time, nothing's really, you're not gonna go to jail. But all the other drugs, cocaine, the date rape drug, methamphetamine, those usually carry penalties from 1 to 10 years, 2 to 15 years, or 5 to 30 years in jail if you get caught with some of that in your house. And like I said, let's say you and your kid are riding down the road and the police officer stops you for something. It's in the car and he dumps it and nobody claims it. Both you guys are going to jail. So that's why it's really important. And then, like I said, you'd be looking at 2 years to 15 years in prison if they found you guilty of keeping these drugs. So you have to be real careful with, and it's not like the illegal drugs that we all think about, cocaine and heroin and everything else. The same pills that your doctor prescribes for pain are the same pills that the doctor prescribes for mental health disorders. Those pills, you can't swap those, give them to anybody else, anything. And legally, you can't keep them out of the original container. You know how sometimes you get the little, where you have to take the pills all the time, and you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? If you put those in there, that's illegal. You can't do that in Georgia. They have to stay in the original bottle. So, yeah, and everybody does that. I mean, I got some now, because I had surgery a couple weeks ago, and I keep them in here. So, but that's illegal. They're supposed to be in the original container at all times. That's like a misdemeanor charge. So, yeah, technically I could go to jail now for a year if the police officer stopped me. So, it's kind of crazy. Now, this is for the kids, not so much for you guys. Well, maybe it is. If your son or daughter is convicted of a drug charge, and they don't do something they call conditional discharge, their license gets suspended. So they can't drive. And who does that punish? All you guys, because you got to drop them everywhere they need to go for 6 months or a year. And most kids don't understand that. They don't know why. But yeah, you end up losing your license. And let's say the judge tells them you're going to have to pay a fine. How can they pay a fine if they can't drive the car to get to work? How can they pay a fine or do community service if they can't drive to do the community service? So it punishes the parents. That's why, then again, I tell you, it's really important that you kind of know what's in your house, know your son or daughter's friends, the people that come over to your house, because they'll have drugs on them. Half of my family, I won't let come to my house, some of my cousins, because I know they do drugs, they sell drugs. And I see them every day when I ride through my old neighborhood, but I won't give them a ride. I won't let them get in my car because I know they'll have like a crack pipe on them or something stupid. So yeah, you have to be really careful with not only your kid, but their friends, because your kid may be perfectly fine, but it's somebody else's kid that's got the drugs on them. So yeah, you have to like kind of be careful of that. And like I said, you know your kid. You can tell when something's bothering them or something, a sudden change. So you just have to kind of, like I said, pay attention to who's that kid? You never hung out with him. Where'd he come from? So, yeah. All right.
그래서 마리화나 제일 약한 게 마리화나 소주인데요. 마리화나는 그러니까 1아운스만 있어 내 주머니에 있다거나 그러면 경범죄에 해당한답니다. 뭐 감옥에는 가지 않지만 그냥 가장 경범죄로 뭐 1,000불 정도 이제 벌금을 내시면 되지만 하여튼 마리화나가 제일 약한 종류의 마약이고요. 그다음에 코케인이나 뭐 메스, 헤로인 그런 이제 그 약국에서 주는 그런 약들, 정신과 약들 특히나 뭐 신경 안정제 같은 거 그런 거를 그런 거는 최소한 1년에서 25년까지 감옥에 갈 수 있답니다. 굉장히 그거는 중죄에 해당하는 그런 마약이고요. 그런 그러니까 의사가 주는 그런 약들은 약병에서 꺼낼 수 없고 그 약병에만 있어야 되기 때문에 만약에 어디 한 개를 뭐 꺼내셔서 이렇게 갖고 다니시거나 그러다가 만약에 경찰에 적발이 되면 체포될 수도 있다고 합니다. 그래서 아이들이 이제 그렇게 뭐 마약 때문에 체포가 되면 면허가 정지되고 심지어는 면허가 취소될 수 있기 때문에 그러면 이제 부모님들이 그 아이들을 어디든지 데려다 줘야 되기 때문에 그것이 아이들만의 프로그램 문제가 아니라 부모님들의 문제가 될 수도 있고 그다음에 그 아이들이 그 가진 그 벌금을 내지 못하면 부모님들이 또 그걸 부담을 해야 되기 때문에 부모님들의 잘못도 그 아이들이 마약을 손대는 데 어느 정도 기여한다고 볼 수 있기 때문에 항상 집에 어떤 친구들이 오는지 내 아이들을 항상 잘 살피시는 게 가장 중요하고요. 그다음에 내 아이를 내가 잘 아니까 그러니까 얘가 어떤 변화가 오는지 그런 거에 대해서 굉장히 민감하셔야 된다고 합니다.
Questions? Okay, to time? Okay, real quick. Last thing, I don't know if you guys have heard, you should have, over the past year or two, where kids have died from smoking bath salts and synthetic marijuana. You know, when you come up, you probably had some bubble bath, and you put it in the bath, and it just make bubbles. Well, now they got these things, and they look like rock crystals, like little salt, and it's kind of hard to describe, but it looks like some sort of candy. But these kids now are smoking that stuff and dying, like because it's that toxic, has that much poison in it that you smoke it one time and you could die. Same thing with the synthetic marijuana because they put all these chemicals in it to give you that effect so that you can get high. But we have a lot of kids that are dying from taking those two drugs. So if you see your kid and they got some different bubble bath stuff, where'd that come from? So that's what I said. You go in your kid's room, search, look for all this stuff because, you know, it's your house. So that's it. I think I am done. So if you have questions or problems, feel free to ask. Last thing, this is my cell phone number, so if you want to get it, write it down. 678-558-0548. And again, my name's Rodney Harris. And trust me, I will answer the phone if I'm not in court. If I don't answer, leave a message, and I will call you back. And that will cost you nothing. So, all right. Thanks a lot again, guys. Thanks for the invite. Whew. That works.
You look better with it.
With no hair? Or with hair or no hair?
Yeah, you